Welcome to the Mama Needs a Moment podcast. We are your hosts, Chrissy
and Cindy,
co-founders of Her Health Collective.
We are two moms obsessed with changing the way moms take care of themselves. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
It is such an honor to be speaking with Deanna Belleny Lewis. Deanna is the co-founder and director of programs at Diversify Dietetics. She was inspired to found Diversify Dietetics after several thought-provoking personal experiences as a student and a dietetics professional of color. Deanna's practice background is in public health and healthcare quality improvement. She has worked for close to 10 years planning, implementing, and evaluating programs that impact underrepresented groups. Additionally, she has trained numerous allied health teams in leadership and professional skill development with an equity, diversity, and inclusion lens. She is passionate about equity and supporting students and professionals of color who wish to thrive in nutrition and dietetics. And it is an honor to have you here. This is such an important topic and something that Her Health Collective is very committed to getting out there and bringing to the forefront. So thank you for joining us today, Deanna.
Yeah, thanks, Chrissy, for having me. I'm really excited to be talking with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we love during every podcast to ask a random fun question. Deanna doesn't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's going to be completely out of the hat. So I'm going to have you pick a number 1 to 10.
Okay, 5.
Is that a favorite number?
It is my favorite number, yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, this is a really good one. Okay. What famous person's memoir would you love to read?
Oh, interesting. What famous person's memoir would I love to read? Oh, this is so hard.
I take the question to be just any, like they don't actually have to have written one. So it doesn't have to be one that's out there.
That exists already.
Yeah.
Okay, famous person's memoir. I think I would love to read, I don't know if this exists, like a Michael Jackson memoir. That would be, I think, really interesting to like get insight into past and, you know, the like rise, fall. Yeah, that's the first person that came to mind. Also, Marilyn Monroe popped in my head too. I was like, I'm sure these maybe exist, but those are the two famous people that first popped in my head.
Both solid choices. I stand behind both. I would read both of them as well. So we can book club it.
I love it.
Let's dive in because we have a lot to cover today. Deanna, you co-founded the nonprofit organization Diversify Dietetics with Tamara Melton because there was a need that was not being met in the field of nutrition and dietetics. The mission of your business is to increase the racial and ethnic diversity in the field of nutrition by empowering nutrition leaders of color.
Yeah.
With a vision of building a nutrition profession that reflects the diverse communities we serve. You have put together a very impressive board of directors and advisory council with influential names in the nutrition field who also see your vision and provide support to your organization. We mentioned that you have experienced several thought-provoking personal experience as a student and a dietetics professional of color that were influential in creating this organization. Would you be willing to share some of those experiences with us?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I think it started as a student in just the way that folks talked about the field and talked about the stereotype of a dietitian. And it was often in this kind of like, haha, joking, funny way where, you know, most dietitians were pretty petite and were white and were often married to like a finance person who had, you know, enough funds to be able to support them through this process that is long and expensive. And I knew this statistic at the time when I was in school, it was like less than 9%. It has since kind of fluctuated. I knew the statistic, but in the classes that I was in, it wasn't necessarily that I saw or experienced. I went to school in Houston. I'm from Texas originally, and a lot of my classes were with a lot of other just like allied health folks. So it was a pretty diverse space in a really diverse city. And so when I got into my dietetic internship, which is kind of the equivalent to like a residency for dietitians, where you're like hopping around to different places and getting a bunch of experience before you can sit for your exam, that is when I like saw the demographic that folks talked about, where it was predominantly white. And I was one of the few folks of color that would be in my rotations, that was in my internship class. And my internship class was like within a HBCU. So this is like impacting, all universities. So I witnessed it there and saw it. But again, the communities I was a part of and the rotations I was going into were pretty diverse. But as a professional, when I became a dietitian, there is an event called FNCE. It's the Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo. It is like the dietitians, every dietitian has to go to it at least once. It's just like the thing that you do as a dietitian. There's food everywhere. It's like where you get to connect with people you haven't seen in probably the whole year. And I was so excited to go because of how it was talked about. And the first time I was able to go as a professional, I had just hired 2 new dietitians. One was also a Black dietitian. And we're walking around the conference floor. And I remember there's like an elevator that always goes into where all the food vendors are, where you can like try all the different items and talk to the people that make the different products. And I remember just like seeing a sea of people that looked very similar. Like this is when I felt the difference, and was just like, oh, this is what people are referring to. And then as we were kind of walking around, we were in line to get some yogurt, because again, everything's free as you're walking around this floor. And this woman's like doing a double take at me and my coworker, again, who's also Black. And she like is looking us up and down, and we're just like, hey girl, smiling, waving. She's like, there's not that many of you here. And then just like grabs her yogurt, like, and goes about her day. And we were like, that was very strange. So that was kind of the first direct thing, that a microaggression, I'd name it, that was just like, okay, This is somebody calling out that I don't belong in this space in a kind of like covert way. And then I was going the next day. They often have abstracts and poster presentations where people are presenting their research and kind of talking about stuff that they've studied over the year. And there was one, it was a white passing professor. She was exploring barriers to people of color getting into the field and like graduating from the programs, and was kind of spotlighting like things that could help, challenges, barriers, successes, etc. And I'm just reading it, taking it in, and there's a person next to me. She's also reading it. And she talks to the poster presenter, is like, yeah, well, I had a Black student in my class last year and she didn't pass her RD exam. So I just don't really know. And so then I was like,
oh my gosh.
That was a little bit more like very intentional, very much naming what her biases and prejudices were. The pass rate at the time for the RD exam was like 80%. Obviously, there are probably all sorts of folks that are passing and failing the exam that are a part of different racial, ethnic groups. So anyway, that was just kind of like the aha moment, that the reason that people joked about what the field looked like and this like stereotype of a dietitian, like it exists for a reason. Our field is not the way it is just because of some like funny coincidence. It's systemic barriers that are prohibiting people of color specifically from getting into or advancing in the field. And so I talked to a mentor at the time where I was like, is everybody aware of this? And she was like, yeah, there's a lot of people, wanting to like trying to do things about it, different groups, both within the professional organization and outside of it. But it's definitely a problem, and like there's not enough being done. So that's kind of when my wheels started turning about what could I help support or create. And I met Tamara on Instagram, as millennials do, a while ago. And we were connected through a friend of a friend. And we also had just similar ideas. So we started kind of just ideating and putting stuff together from there. That was in 2018 when we met, but 2016, I think, when I had that experience.
I was going to ask that, like how long before it all kind of came to fruition? Wow, that is blatant in this like professional context. It is horrifying.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
Her Health Collective is building a directory of women's health experts, and the directory is designed to be a one-stop shop of the best providers and experts who identify as female, providing inclusive and collaborative care from all the different industries that serve mothers. As we were searching for women of color who provide nutrition services, we were shocked at how difficult it was to find. Would you please bring clarity on why there seems to be limited, you briefly mentioned this, but why there is this limited diversity in nutrition and dietetics? You mentioned the systemic root of the issue, and perhaps kind of dive into what societal movements may be helping to make this field more enticing to people of color.
So I think, one of the big barriers is just the path to become a dietitian itself. As I mentioned, it's a long path, but sometimes it's confusing, and it's also expensive. So that in itself kind of prohibits who's able to pursue this field. You have to do an undergraduate degree, but it has to be from a program that can give you like a verification statement. So not every university that has like a nutrition undergraduate degree will be able to do that. You have to do this like supervised practice or dietetic internship, which is like 1,000 hours of unpaid work. Oftentimes you have to pay the programs to go through it. Most often, yeah, you pay to to go through your dietetic internship. Sometimes it's affiliated with the university, so you can get like scholarships and grants, but sometimes it's not. It's separate, so you're having to kind of come out of pocket. Sometimes folks have to relocate, so then there's like the moving expenses and being away from family or a support system. And then you have to sit for the exam, as I mentioned, which also costs money. So there's just like financially, it is not the easiest field to be able to get through. As of this year, you have to have a master's degree in order to sit for the RD exam. So that just sometimes adds a little bit more of a complexity to it. I think also just like knowledge of the career of dietetics. I know I went into school as a journalism major. I had no idea I was going to become a dietitian until a semester or two in. And I think that is the experience of a lot of people where they're like, who, a diet what? Like, what does that mean? Nutritionist is usually like what people understand more, but it's a completely, I mean, there's not necessarily a process to be called a nutritionist. So yeah, I think there's just not a lot of knowledge about all the different spaces and cool things that dietitians can be a part of, from like school nutrition to corporate and, CPG type of companies to clinical things, which is often what people think about, or private practice. So I think the knowledge of the career is another thing. And then specifically for folks of color, like you want to be able to come out, and oftentimes there's a low pay associated with the career, which I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There is oftentimes that there are opportunities to grow and opportunities to either like become an entrepreneur or avenues where you can make more money. But if you're looking at that starting salary for a dietitian, you're like, oh, why would I do that? I'm interested in this topic, but it could be, again, a barrier if you don't have mentorship or support to be able to say like, oh, I know that's what you're looking at, but like, let's map out how you could get to whatever your goal is. So I think those are some of the barriers, not including the ones that I just talked about, where there's like discrimination and racism and prejudice against folks that are pursuing this field. I know we've talked to many students that say like their professors track them away from dietetics. Like there was a dietetics or a non-dietetics route to go in their nutrition degree, and they were like, you don't want to go that route. It's too competitive. It's too hard. And so I think, again, both of those kind of systemic discriminatory practices that people either implicitly like could have all of the greatest intentions of like, I just want the student to succeed. But yeah, so those types of things. And then when people get into the field, oftentimes it feels isolating. It feels lonely. Like those are words that I would use to describe that first FNCE experience for me, because everyone seems to be like reconnecting, and here I am with, not a community there. It felt isolating. It felt lonely. It felt like I didn't have belonging in this field that I like worked so hard to get into and really enjoyed. Like I loved my first few jobs as a dietitian. I love the work that I do now as a dietitian. So I think those are some of the contributors. I think what's happening to help, obviously, our organization, we started in 2018, but we are, standing on the shoulders of giants, I think is the phrase that people use, where there's been folks like Dr. Jennings or Dr. Evelyn Creighton, who were early dietitians who have kind of paved the way for Black and Brown folks to excel and succeed in this field, but just a lot of advocacy around shining a light on the lack of representation. And I think this impacts not just us as those that participate in the field, but who we do our work for, the communities of color, the communities that we're providing nutrition support or nutrition education for. I started in school nutrition. And so many times I would go into mainly Black and Brown schools and they'd be like, Miss, that's white people food. Not knowing some of the stories around, nutrient dense foods that have roots in Africa, that have roots in places that, people that look like us come from. So I think things, again, that people are doing are just like advocating, shining a light on some of the issues, shining a light on the representation and the successes. We'd love to do our RDN spotlights where we're able to show people doing the most like niche of niche things, whether it's like pediatric cancer research or like transplant care, media and communications, advocates. So there's so many cool and interesting jobs. And I think you just have to be able to see that representation, to feel that sense of community, feel that sense of belonging, to continue sometimes through a field that is not the easiest to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. You said that you initially started with a journalism major.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know what shifted you into dietetics. What interested you in it?
It's funny. I went to school as this like bright-eyed 18-year-old, and I was so excited to start my journalism major. And my advisor literally on day one was like, this is a dying career. You need to get out while you still can. This was before a lot of the like internet boom of journalism really took off. So anyway, all that to say, that got my wheels thinking really early, like, okay, well, if I'm going to do something else, what would it be? And I did a trip to London right before I started college with a couple of friends, and we were like all getting ready, and I was ready before they were. So I was just like sitting watching TV, and there was a TV show about these two nutrition nannies, is like the best way I could describe it. They like came into this woman's house. She was dealing with chronic conditions and depression. And they like taught her how to, shop, taught her how to like find ways to move her body that would make her feel good, helped her with like meal preparation and decreasing her stress. So it was just the first time that I saw food and physical activity impact not only like chronic health conditions, but like mood. And it was just like, oh, that was really interesting, just like logged it in the back of my brain. And then as we traveled, we were having so many like delicious and fresh foods. We went to London and Spain, and I just remember like logging different foods that I was like interested in trying when I got back. So anyway, that experience was like, maybe nutrition could be cool.
Yeah, I love it. It just makes you kind of think about different ways of being able to showcase what this field and this career could be, and what could attract different people into the industry. This episode is sponsored by Her Circle, the supportive and welcoming community for moms created by Her Health Collective.
Her Circle is a welcoming and supportive community for moms who are passionate about making change for themselves, their families, the community, and the world. Together, this village of women are revolutionizing the way moms take care of themselves.
From an active, private online community and the incredible daily chats hosted there, to our many gatherings, including support groups, Moms Night Out, volunteer opportunities, book club, family adventures, coffee chats, and so much more. We love providing moms the chance to connect and create authentic relationships with one another.
The network of experts in Her Circle are a phenomenal resource and provide great learning experiences for moms on topics ranging from women's health to parenting. We cover the issues that matter to moms the most, from virtual expert Q&As to one-on-one Wellness Minute consultations and support groups. We are committed to getting moms in front of the information, experts, and support they need most.
To learn more about Her Circle, head to www.herhealthcollective.com. We have a limited number of spaces, and the doors only open a few times a year. So be sure to add your name to the no obligation waitlist so you are the first to know when the doors officially reopen. On the Diversify Dietetics website, you share that only 9% of RDNs, and you did say that the number might be slightly higher now, are individuals of color, which obviously does not reflect the diversity of the patients and clients being served by RDNs, which you had also just touched on. We recognize the importance for everyone to be able to work with, learn from, and be in community with individuals who look like them. I am a former high school teacher, and this is something that's heavily researched in the education sector, with teachers in particular, the need to have a diverse array of teachers, because similar field, it tends to be a very similar makeup.
Yeah.
It seems obvious to me that this is vital with those in roles such as nutritionists. I also think of therapists, how important it would be to be with someone that understands your experience, your lived experience. Yeah. One of the key goals of Diversify Dietetics is to offer a community that provides the support, network, and representation needed to attract students of color to the field of nutrition. In a blog post on the website, we learn the story of Kamaria. Is that how I say her name?
Yeah.
Kamaria. Okay. Who had been accepted into an internship program, was hardworking, had the ability, had a supportive family, but did not have the means to fund such a large tuition payment. The Diversify Dietetics community came through for Kamaria, and within 3 days, She had the necessary funds to pay the tuition for her program. Such a heartwarming story and amazing.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. I like to use this story kind of as a jumping off point. How does lack of community negatively impact our DNs of color?
Yeah. And Kamari is like killing it as a dietitian. She lives in the Atlanta area. Her and my co-founder Tamara are closely connected. So thanks for reminding me of that story. I was just like, oh yeah, that feels so long ago, but was very cool. Yeah, I think the lack of community, and community is so important to us at Diversify Dietetics. It's the first word you see when you go to our website, because just knowing that you have support behind you and having somebody in your corner that's able to say, like, if you want to go down this path, let me figure out a way to help you get down that path. If you want to become this pediatric cancer dietitian, like, let me find somebody to connect you with. Again, I think that sense of belonging in a field that is so white dominated, and to be honest, with the education of dietetics, we didn't see our foods represented in the education. So like having diverse dietitians doesn't only impact, just us as practitioners, but it's like how we're educated, things that we're told are like healthy foods or not so healthy foods. People that we see in the media that are talking about nutrition or health messages are oftentimes not folks of color. And so I think, again, that sense of belonging was really important for us, given all the ways that we saw people and students and professionals of color either be tracked out of it or be discouraged to pursue what they wanted to. So having that community, again, even if folks don't know that DD exists, just to know that like there's a person in my city, in my state, that went to my university or whatever, that went through that same path, just gives you a little bit more of a sense of calm. And I'll just compare and contrast like that first FNCE experience that I had with the first FNCE I had when Diversify Dietetics was an organization. Like it was like night and day. Like to have a room, we did a meetup in 2018. We had been founded for like 6 months. Tamara and I had not even met in person. So that was the first experience that we were able to meet in person. We did like a workshop with some educators. And then afterwards we had just like a networking happy hour. And to like look around the room, it like gives me chills thinking about it right now, to look around the room and just to see that diversity that you don't really see in spaces at FNCE of just like, Black, brown, white, like all sorts of racial ethnic groups, like mingling and comfortable and finding a buddy that they could like have for the rest of that weekend. That's in a space that, again, I attributed to isolation at the beginning of my career. I think is just really important. So we want people to have that feeling and to have that opportunity, not just at FNCE, but like when you're going through your dietetic internship, when you're trying to pursue a credential in sports nutrition, like whatever that is, just to have that, like, I know that there's somebody I can reach out to be connected with.
Oh, that is beautiful. I had chills too. I could picture it. I could see it.
Yeah.
There's magic there. There's magic there. What work still needs to be done? What are the next steps and future goals of Diversify Dietetics as a community?
Yeah, one of the big things that we did this last year, so I've talked about this dietetic internship a couple times. It is like the penultimate thing that you do before you can sit for your exam. And there's like a 50% admission rate into it. The number of people that are pursuing nutrition is going down. So anyway, it's just a barrier. It's where we saw a lot of bottleneck for individuals of color. So we were like, we should start our own dietetic internship. Like we should do this ourselves to train the future and really be able to see people go through the field. So it's not necessarily just for folks of color. It's just a program that's focused towards culture of humility and training the next generation of nutrition professionals to be these folks that are like focused on advancing equity, that are focused on making, systems level impactful changes, that have the skills to be culturally humble and culturally sensitive when working with all sorts of communities. And we just finished our first cohort of that dietetic internship program. So we would love to continue to do that. One of the things that we feel passionate about is raising funds so that we don't have to pass on the costs to those interns and provide an internship experience that is tuition free for folks. So that is one of the biggest things that I think we're focused on, and not just so that we can kind of bring more folks into the field, but we want to have a model that we can share to everyone else to say like, okay, this is how we were thinking about a dietetic internship and way that you can do it in a more equitable way that can hopefully continue to increase the numbers around racial and ethnic representation in our field. So that's like the biggest thing that I highlight. We also do a lot of cool professional development. We have our annual summit in person for the first time this June in Atlanta. It's going to be hybrid, so in person and virtually. And so just, again, continuing to build spaces of belonging and continuing to just like look for ways to do things differently so that it's more welcoming, more inclusive, more equitable.
Yeah, I love the push to scale this. And also congratulations on that first cohort coming through.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Yeah.
Our podcast is mainly listened to by moms and women's health professionals. Now that you have shared the main goals, the details of your organization, it would be wonderful to hear how your mission can best be supported by the population we serve. What are some educational resources that listeners can access to learn more about the need for diversifying representation in the nutrition space? Or how can they get involved in some way in building this goal?
I think especially for those that are interested in health or health professionals, oftentimes I feel like dietitians get left out of the conversation. And I'm thinking about just my experience in some spaces like clinically where there's a huge opportunity because so many of the providers don't have the time to be able to like have that one-on-one care with like the doctor or the nurse, but there is an opportunity to bring in kind of an RD to talk a little bit more in depth. So yes, so I'd advocate for just like consider having an RD in the spaces that you're in. If you are a provider or referring to an RD, we have a directory on our website that folks can utilize to get connected with folks all around the country. The other thing I'd add for folks, if they're looking to continue to support, like I said, that internship program is one we're looking to continue to grow and is like something that we're looking to do differently in the field with, of course, alleviating the financial barrier. So if you're ever in the need to connect us to folks that you know that might want to donate or support financially through scholarships, that's always an opportunity. And then, yeah, come hang out with us at different events that we have. Like I said, we have that in-person one in Atlanta, but advocating for just the role of the dietitian, especially as we think more about like preventative health, it's just so important. And again, just has a little bit more bandwidth than some of the providers do in some of the more clinical settings. But yeah, I'm of course biased at the importance of dietitians as a dietitian myself, but I do think, a care team is important and as a team, this is work I've done previously and like the importance of teams and the role of just like leveraging everybody's strengths to improve community health is important to me. And so I think we're just a part of that equation.
Absolutely. So beautiful. What you have created is amazing and so needed. And I just want to acknowledge the bravery and, the gumption to see a problem and to do something about it. It's pretty awesome to see. So thank you for sharing that. I have one final question, a super fast one, because for our listeners that don't know, I've had the opportunity to see an adorably cute baby through most of this interview. You are just fresh into your motherhood journey. And as I said, we have a lot of moms that listen. Do you have any, I don't know, insights into motherhood in your 4-month journey so far, or something to share with other moms?
Let's see. I'm definitely, like you said, very much still new to this. I have a 4-month-old. Her name is Ella Rose. She is amazing. I think I'm learning in this motherhood journey that it's hard and you want to do all of the things. I know somebody that like has a nonprofit, also has like a 9-to-5, has a family that I want to connect with. I'm learning the importance of boundaries. I know this is probably not new for all of the moms out there, but yeah, just like week to week identifying what I'm going to value and making sure I block off the time to be able to value that. So that's one lesson I'm learning.
Well, it's a lesson maybe you'll master it. It's a lesson I'm continuing. My daughter's 6. I know Cindy's are older. We're still continually learning this. So, I mean, it's a work in progress always. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other tips you have or other moms have that are listening to your podcast, please, I'm open. I'm all ears. We're only 4 months into this.
Once you start sleeping again, it does become easier. And like the sleep is, and with your background, how important sleep is.
Yeah,
it's like one of those. So it was such a joy to speak with you, Deanna. You're doing such important work, and we're so grateful to you for taking the time to talk with us, especially with a 4-month-old on your hip. So
yeah, unpredictable Friday morning, but it's been an awesome conversation. I really appreciate you reaching out and connecting with us.
Absolutely. It was our pleasure. We've enjoyed hanging out with you today, friend. We hope you got to finally enjoy a hot cup of coffee as you listened. Make sure you follow us so you're the first to know when we drop a new episode.
If you've enjoyed your time with us, let us know by leaving a review. We always love hearing from you. Until next time, stay true to you.